It is October 14th, 2025, and it starts with the robots folding your laundry. And then they're going to start giving birth to babies. And then before you know it, they're going to be digging mass graves. This is Inverted World Live. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. This is Inverted World Live, and I'm your host, Shane Cashman. We are very glad you are here tonight. Thank you very much for joining us. We have a lot of robot and AI news to cover before we get to phone calls. We would love to hear from you. From as many of you as possible, you can call in. There's a link pinned in the chat on both Rumble and YouTube. And in about 30 or so minutes, we'll get to that. We'll open up the phone lines. You can talk to us about something we've discussed earlier in the show in the first 30 minutes. Or you can call in and give us a crazy story about something you've experienced. We've got ghost stories, sleep paralysis, cryptids, alien abductions, you name it. We'd love to hear about it. I'm, of course, joined by Brandon. What's up, dude?
What's up, Shane? What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Let's get weird.
Oh, man. As I was saying yesterday, lots of robot news. The past 5 days, there's a lot going on. And I guess the best place to start would be with the robots themselves.
Can we just start with the fact that you said lots of robot news?
Yes, that's a
I
thing.
think that's a good place to start.
That is a good place to start. There is a lot
never
of robot
thought that
news.
that would be something we'd be hearing, but yes,
Yeah,
lots of robot news.
Typically, it's probe news. I feel like there's a weird intersection there between probing and robots that also might...
Probots, yeah.
Probots, exactly. Was that a band?
It can be.
Yeah. Okay, we just started another band. Wonderful. 2 minutes in, and Brandon and I have a new band.
Let's go.
But yeah, there is a weird intersection there with, talking about artificial womb factories, robots giving birth, and probes. But of course, I'm also talking about the probe that is hurtling here to Earth from fake space that they are warning about. Oh, good old 3IA Atlas. And they're saying that's going to be here, I guess, next month. But not a lot of probe news today, mostly robot news. Let's get into that video we have from Time Magazine, where they're showing you their newfangled robot that they want in your house. And you might remember, I think it was election day last year, so almost a year ago, when Elon did Joe Rogan's show, and he talked about towards the end of the episode. Fascinating. It's the most fascinating part of that interview, at least I think so, where he's talking about his Optimus robots and how he's creating like 1 million of them, maybe millions, I guess, and that everyone's going to want one and every household should have one. And he talks about robot being your babysitter. This is another one. These humanoids, they prefer humanoid. I'm so sorry to the robots out there listening. I know you prefer humanoid. You're a robot to me. But but let's get into this video, and it's a few minutes. Let's see what they're up to, these robots. Oh, the music's nice at least.
So Figure designs and manufactures
We're gonna
humanoid
get
robots, and the goal is to be able to
Shoot.
do as much stuff a human can as possible in the physical world. we think of a lot of ourselves as like trying to give, this is kind of a creepy, but like trying to give AI a body. How do we ultimately send robots out to the world to do everything from work in
You hear that? They even know that it sounds creepy.
Yes.
the commercial market, and then ultimately we will put a
There's
robot
black
in every
robots
home
and
in the
white
world.
robots.
Laundry, dishes, cleaning up the
Yeah,
house.
I've noticed that they're also this house. Either this house or these robots have been paired together color-wise to kind of
To make you want it more.
yeah.
This is all.
Like you can get a robot that matches your decor.
Yep. It's minimal like this house, and it's all propaganda to get you to be like, you know what, this is gonna look good in my house.
Yeah, it totally is.
Not my house.
Else, basically everything that
Look
a
at its
human can
hands.
do in the physical world over time, we'd like a humanoid to do.
In late September, Time's cover shoot was a domestic affair with a humanoid robot called the Figure 3. It's the latest creation of Figure AI, a California-based startup backed by more than $1 billion in funding, which is building towards a future where humanoid robots make human labor a thing of the past. Time witnessed the Figure 3 load a dishwasher, clear clutter, and fold clothes. But even in this tightly controlled environment, the robot often struggled. The dream of general robotics,
Can we pause it real
seems,
quick?
is still a long way from becoming a reality.
Do we think this is real, or is this AI? We have to ask. What do you guys think? What do you think, Brandon?
I mean, the shots look real enough to me.
They do look real.
If we're not able to trust Time magazine, who are we able to trust?
Yeah, good old Time. Hey, Base Jew out there, thanks for the super chat. You say, I'm just here to give you my money. Thank you. I'll put it in my anti-robot arsenal that I'm slowly building up. All right, let's see this thing do some laundry.
So there were occasions where I was watching the robot folding towels and loading a washer. And it's kind of clear that it can kind of do those things pretty well, but there were times when one of the towels dropped out of the washer and it was unable to pick it up. So like, how do you get from there to your vision of general robotic overlord that can do?
It can't even get all the towels into the washer yet.
Did you hear what he just said? You want to go back just 2 seconds?
Yeah, we can.
Did everyone catch it?
Robotic overlord that can do anything you want it to.
Yeah.
Wait.
Vision of
That's right.
General robotic overlord that can do.
I'm missing it. Hang on. I gotta throw it
and
back.
it was unable to pick it up. So like, how do you get from there to your vision of general robotic overlord that can do anything you want it to?
Yeah, overlord.
General
nice.
robotic overlord.
I think the
They
short
can't
answer is
help
we feel like
themselves.
data fixes almost all this at this point. And we've seen that in almost all the demonstrations we do, where even in the early stages,
Sorry, Brandon, you want to pause real quick? I just want to say hi to everyone who is joining us. Thank you for being here, joining us from IRL. We are now getting into all this robot news. We've got Peter Thiel talking about the Antichrist and what that means according to him. But we're going to start with the humanoids that are slowly invading our world. And here we are looking at these humanoids folding laundry from Time magazine.
Folding or like the logistics use case. Like it just like wasn't that great. It made a bunch of mistakes. As we add more data, it got like faster. It made less mistakes. Still had some mistakes there, and all that is sort of like asymptotically like basically approaching zero. It's like getting close to human levels in terms of like we can run them for like hours and hours, and it just like performs really well.
Large language models, like ChatGPT, prove that if you scale up the amount of data and computing power used to train a neural network, it would gain surprising new capabilities across the board. Figure is one of a group of companies attempting to apply that insight to robotics.
Imagine
the
that.
company is spending big to collect video data of humans performing tasks, like folding clothes and cleaning homes, in a bid to teach robots to do the same thing. The big question is, will it work? The company says early experiments have already yielded promising results. Some of the last generation of robot, the Figure 2, are already working in a BMW factory in South Carolina, moving parts that ultimately make it into the BMW X3.
One of our core focuses
Imagine losing
in
your
the
job
roadmap
to a
here is how do
robot.
we ship robots basically into every
happened
consumer home
before.
in the world. We want to do what we do all day in the home, and just like things I hate. Like I don't want to do laundry. I don't want to do dishes. I don't want to clean up the house.
I don't want to pay my employees.
Exactly.
I don't want to have to deal with paying out 401ks or matching or dealing with insurance payouts or anybody having to go on any type of paid leave, vacation time, things like this.
You nailed it. Yeah, I want slaves who aren't going to complain.
Free slaves.
Yeah. Good,
And
another good band name.
aren't going to beg us for freedom at some point during their incarceration with us.
And we haven't really had any like large breakthroughs in the home in terms of automation for like decades. So our view is that the robot will not only act as like your companion in your home, being able to share like very deep memory and be able to like basically talk to you basically just with speech, and then ultimately be able to do everything you do in the home that you don't want to do.
But upon its launch this October, the Figure 3 won't be ready for your home. Not only is the robot not yet useful enough to be an Android butler, but Figure says it also has many unsolved safety challenges. Large language models are notorious for sometimes going off the rails, and that controllability problem will extend to the systems that power humanoid robots too.
You guys caught all that, right?
It's not safe yet.
Uh-huh.
Will it ever be safe?
Its ability to go off the rails.
Yeah, so they were tying this to AI. We know AI hallucinates. It's got a lot of issues. So imagine the hallucinating AI feeding into this robot's brain and what could possibly happen. I also, it is inevitable that they will be hacked by bad actors.
Yeah.
Like we talk about the history of MK Ultra, what our government, why it started doing MK Ultra, for various reasons, but one of them being the super soldier. Well, here you go. This is your sleeper cell super soldier.
Do you know how many people are out there waiting to get their hands on these things so that they can modify them themselves?
Exactly. Or marry them.
We're talking about video game overlords that are creaming at the idea that they're going to be able to bring one of these things home and get into its juicy USB port.
Oh, goodness.
All they have to do is program a couple of different features into these things, rework a few lines of code probably, and who knows what somebody could actually do with one of these things.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm not saying they couldn't put fail-safes into them, but it's just a matter of time before someone's able to weaponize one of these things, whether it be the government or, some guy, with a gripe with his boss, or something.
That's why these were built. It's like everything we talk about on the show when it comes to this technology, it's hard for me to deny someone who's paraplegic the Neuralink. I disagree with the Neuralink, but the short-term benefits, I understand. How do I say I don't want someone to have sight again or to cure epilepsy or to walk again? And we've had someone who is paraplegic call in and talk about other avenues that one could take, but they're all different, things going on and advancements. And of course, and now in a similar way with the robots, it's like, it's going to do these things. It's going to fold your laundry. It'll do your dishes, but it's always something else. The in the future for the Neuralink, that is without a doubt going to become something like vanity, right? Like kind of how everyone has an iPhone. It'll go beyond just helping someone in the short term who really needs help, whether it's the seizures, hearing, all that stuff. It will, of course, go beyond that to where everyone needs it, and they're going to have to quantify how we even think of IQ. Everyone's going to want to have one. Your kids are going to be asking for a Neuralink. The transhumanists are going to be using it to upload their consciousness into computers, like a Ray Kurzweil type of character. And then the same thing with this stuff. This stuff is born out of, most advancements is born out of war and how we can use these things to fight people, whether it's abroad or here. Abroad as in one word, not abroad. Although I'm sure there are people out there who
fighting broads at the local bar. Yeah,
robots
totally.
fighting broads. But yeah, that's how it always starts. So we don't have to watch the whole thing, but I just want you guys to have that image in your mind as we then swerve into the Antichrist. Talk of the Antichrist. And before I do that, let's just see if I'm missing anything here with you guys in the chat. Again, thank you guys for joining us. Yeah, I see a lot of you guys did catch the Overlord part of that. They can't contain themselves. So, Josh, I'm going to read this because it made me laugh. But Josh Chandler said someone is going to try to get a handy and have it ripped off. People in the ER have had some pretty wild stories about things that people have done in the privacy of their home. And that does seem like it's a reality right around the corner. And I shudder to think.
I mean, that's my thing. I'm not saying this is anything to be worried about now because I see Antonius getting in there. It's not anything that I'm worried about right now. It's moreover, look at the possibility that's there with what we're already seeing.
Yeah,
I'm not worried about this year. I'm not worried about the next year. Hell, maybe not even the next 5 years. But like, we're gonna get to a point where this shit's gonna be serious, dude. And it's. I'm really not looking forward to it as much as a lot of other people are, unfortunately.
I'm fairly certain most people are going to buy into this. It's going to be a thing. Most people are going to want it.
People already are. That's what all
Yes.
this early stage propaganda is that we're seeing. All these publications of all this shit. Like, look what we can do. Look what our robot can do. Even though at the end of the video it tells you, yeah, well, we can't really, because our robot can't really do shit.
Robot safety is not so good right now. We're working on it. It does go off the rails. That's their words. But yeah, I think that is something we're gonna have to contend with very soon. And I'm not the only one thinking of this. Everyone's thinking about this. A lot of people who are building this stuff, who are funding this stuff. Most of the people who talk about AI, the big names, they're talking about it in terms of Elon has talked about AI as and his words are, it's summoning the demon. He's also referred to it as a little g god. I can't remember who it was, but there was a meeting of AI overlords years ago. Some interview I saw on YouTube a while back, and I'm going to have to dance around this slightly, how they put it. But this is what one of them said about another one of their colleagues who was building AI. And I guess what he was saying in their meeting was alarming to a lot of the other people. And in the video, when they're talking to this person who's in the room hearing the speech, he basically said, I'm paraphrasing, but I think he put it pretty bluntly, that it was his last time. he basically, I don't know how to put this in a way that's not so dark, but he literally said, we could have taken that guy's life. Maybe it was our last time to save humanity. And that was AI people discussing this. I forget exactly who that was. And I wish I had that clip pulled up because it was said, and that was from years ago. It wasn't Elon. It wasn't Teal. Might have been Anthropic. I forget who it was. But they're genuinely concerned while they're accelerating the advancements in AI, which then takes us to this idea of the Antichrist. We've talked about Peter Thiel a bunch on the show. For those who don't know, who are just now joining us for the first time, I'm sure most of you do know that is the creator of Palantir, co-founder. He's one of the PayPal mafia guys. Him and Elon basically started PayPal. The CIA funded Palantir early on, basically hand in hand with the Patriot Act. And that was one of their earlier venture capitalist firms that bought into Palantir was the CIA, In-Q-Tel. And they've done a lot of work for the CIA. So they go hand in hand. And that's a big data scraping corporation that will eventually, if it hasn't already, lead to pre-crime, predictive policing, which is something that's already happening. You could say AI Lavender, what they're doing in Gaza with that death machine, is one possible evolution of Palantir that scrapes data off the internet and then turns it into a weapon and lets the AI decide who gets murdered in Gaza. And there is a big error rate, but it's also happening in the UK in other ways. And there's no proof that it's Palantir behind these things. But we pulled up footage of Teal himself being asked about Lavender, and it's quite awkward. He doesn't really answer very well. But they must be using something similar, if not Palantir. What's going on in the UK is their pre-crime homicide unit where they scrape your data, everyone on the internet, and they see who's most likely to commit a homicide. And they're experimenting with that right now. And you can imagine how that would then lead to, obviously, the social credit score, things we see in China. You might remember the footage of what we were seeing in China with people not acquiescing to their lockdowns, people getting locked out of their apartments, people not being able to bank, things we've seen here already for other reasons. So Teal recently gave this lecture, this 4-part lecture about the Antichrist. And, Teal does consider himself a Christian. He said that for a long time. He's also a married gay man. And I think that's interesting. And he's also really smart. As much as I am not a fan, he is incredibly smart, and I do agree with him on certain things. One being, he knows that colleges are completely bankrupt, immoral boot camps it's a Marxist playground, which is why he started the Teal Fellowship. Now, I don't agree with the Teal Fellows. Our good friend, the Cloud Man, Augustus, is a Teal Fellow. We talk about Orchid, the eugenicist IVF company. That's also a Teal Fellow, run by a Teal Fellow. They all do things that I really don't agree with, but I do agree with Peter Thiel when it comes to the colleges being an issue, for sure. We all know that. But let's go to this article that came out recently because there was some audio that leaked from his lecture. He did ask everyone to not record. People paid a pretty hefty price to attend these lectures, and seems like someone did record. And again, before I read from some of this article in the Washington Post, it is possible that this is just not real. And this is one of my confirmation biases where, someone I think is actually anti-human saying things that I think are very wrong. So I have to read this with a grain of salt, knowing, why would I believe the Washington Post all of a sudden? But this is something he has talked about for quite some time. And we even pulled up Joe Allen, who's been on the show a bunch. He was talking to Steve Bannon a few weeks ago. And Joe's followed this very, very closely. And so he kind of had an idea of where this was going, having listened to Peter over the years. And that adds up to what we're reading in this article, where he references Antichrist. He references peace and safetyism, many parts in the Bible. And now this is his vision of how the Antichrist can come about. So here we have inside billionaire Peter Thiel's private lectures, warnings of the Antichrist and U.S. destruction. And before I read, I just want to say again, for those who don't know, like Peter Thiel has been one of the biggest funders of Trump, which is one of the reasons I was reluctant. I voted for Trump every time, but I was reluctant because of his proximity to Thiel. Thiel also gave Trump Vance. Vance was mentored by Thiel. And I have a lot of issues with the tech sector as we discussed last night and on a lot of other episodes of the show. Many of those reasons being that I just think they are anti-Christian, despite they say they're Christian, and they're anti-human, and they're building a very dystopian future that they think is better for us. I disagree. I don't agree with their vision of America. I don't agree with their network states. I don't agree with transhumanism. And I think they're building stuff that is all towards that. And what they are building with the tech, with the robots and the AI, will become an overlord. And that is what they called an overlord in that video. But you guys can see it as well. It's happening. How they're building it. How they can kind of tweak the algorithms to promote certain narratives. If you guys are terminally on Twitter, you might have noticed how the algorithm has changed recently there. You might be seeing different things that are pro-Israel all of a sudden more than ever. Maybe we're all just crazy, and maybe we just happen to be clicking those things more often than usual. But I don't think so, and I'm not the only one who sees that. But you can just see how they can manipulate narratives while they're also manipulating and destroying the landscape. All the data centers they have to build, all the farmland they have to destroy to build their data centers, keep those running, how those data centers are now affecting the communities around them by soaking up all the water, because data centers use millions and millions of gallons of water and electricity, and people are seeing their water bills and their electricity bills skyrocket, and we're just in the beginning stages of that. And so there's been a lot of talk about regulation when it comes to AI, when it comes to data centers, all this stuff. Deep breath. That's where we're at. Let's read the article. Tech billionaire Peter Thiel recently warned that the Swedish activist Greta Thunberg and critics of technology or artificial intelligence are legionnaires of the Antichrist. Those are his words, legionnaires of the Antichrist. And he said this in private lectures on Christianity that connected government oversight of Silicon Valley to an apocalyptic future, according to recordings reviewed by the Washington Post. And again, this is stuff we've heard from not in such stark ways in terms of the Antichrist, but we've heard this kind of talk from a lot of other people. David Sachs just today tweeting out that people who have any criticism of AI or are worrisome of non-regulations, that they're actually fear-mongers, which I guess would be me. But I believe I have good reason to want regulation. I'm really not a regulation guy, but I think the proliferation of AI is going to be a huge issue. So I guess Thiel would consider me a legionnaire of the Antichrist. And Greta Thunberg, like of all people, please. In the 4 roughly 2-hour lectures, which began last month and culminated Monday at the Commonwealth Club in San Francisco, Thiel laid out his religious views to a sold-out audience who were told to keep the contents off the record, according to an event listing. He argued that those who propose limits on technology development not only hinder business, but also threaten to usher in the destruction of the United States and an era of global totalitarian rule, according to the recordings. And before I continue, I want to say I'm not anti-innovation, but when it comes to these, I'll get called a Luddite a lot, which I don't think is a bad thing. I'll say it again. The Luddites were not anti-tech. They were anti-being replaced by mass autonomy. They used the tech of their time. They didn't like that factories were being built to replace them. This is what's going on with AI right now. We're already seeing it. The robots are going to make it even worse. I don't want to see people being replaced. They will, proponents of this AI future will say, well, then you have more time to do the things you love, which is a very communist attitude. It never works out that way, in my opinion. But maybe, prove me wrong, guys. For those who disagree, I would love to hear from you, seriously. I think about this a lot, and I love hearing the alternate points of view. In the 17th, 18th century, the Antichrist, he said, would have been a Dr. Strangelove, a scientist who did all this sort of evil, crazy science, Thiel said in his September 15th opening talk, according to the recordings. In the 21st century, the Antichrist is a Luddite who wants to stop all science. I don't, and most Luddites don't, although there are some who probably do. It's someone like Greta or Eliezer. I'm spacing on who that is. You guys in the chat can remind me. He said, referring to, it's right there. Thunberg and Eliezer Yudkowsky, a prominent critic of tech industry's approach to AI. That's something Joe Allen would know. This is right up Joe Allen's alley. Thunberg has criticized global capitalism as a driver of environmental degradation, while Yudkowsky advocates for limiting AI research to prevent the technology from surpassing human intelligence. Thiel previously funded Yudkowsky's work, but said in his September 15th lecture that he is now embarrassed by the association and that the AI critic and others like him have become deranged, according to the recordings. Thiel's lectures come at a time of rising Christian nationalism in the United States. Now it sounds like a Washington Post article. Christians have varying interpretations of the biblical Antichrist, but the figure is often understood to be an opponent of God who appears during the end times. The Post sent Thiel, through a spokesperson, a detailed list of questions about his remarks in the lectures, but Thiel declined to comment. Yudkowsky said in the statement, "My understanding is that authorities from multiple Christian denominations have stated that Thiel's views identifying the Antichrist with proposals to regulate the AI industry are not deemed by them to be compatible with conventional Christian belief." Spokespeople for Thunberg did not respond to a request for comment. So, in my view, I think it's just antithetical to humanity in terms of how that's going to replace people, also destroy people's drive, destroy creativity. Although I also do understand that it can be a tool, and it can be fun. Like, I am enjoying Tupacabra's videos on Twitter. They're hilarious. You might have seen that one with like Ashton Forbes and Candace and Ian and Sam, Alex Jones, all that stuff. They're hilarious, and I understand it's fun. I'm just thinking about the consequences into the not so distant future, and then beyond that, what future my kids are going to inherit when it comes to this stuff. Yeah. Thiel, an early investor in Facebook, that's true, and co-founder of data analytics firm Palantir, has long espoused libertarian views, arguing that politics, bureaucracy, and regulations have led to economic stagnation in the U.S. and Europe. But the recent lectures appear to mark an intensification of this ideology and attempt to pitch it on a grander scale. The recordings offer new detail about how the billionaire seems to place those who would critique or regulate tech developers into a religious good versus evil worldview, where the future of all creation depends on giving innovators free rein. I'm sorry, I thought your co-founder from PayPal literally calls AI summoning the demon. Like, your homie is calling it a demon, and a lot of your other people around you are calling it a demon. Sam Altman says AI is going to have to, it's going to cause us to have to rewrite the social contract. Sam Altman is also, someone who really looks up to Thiel. These guys also believe in, monopolizing their markets, something Altman talks about a bunch while referencing Thiel. That should alarm you guys. And like I said, I really don't like regulations, but when something seems like it's going to destroy humanity, you can disagree. I feel like we have to do something. And so on Trump's second day in office, the second term, we had Project Stargate. That's where we had this $500 billion shrine. People like Larry Ellison were there. We talked about Larry last night. He's, I think, an insane person who's now going to run TikTok. Not good. I don't think he's a good person. We had Sam Altman. And then people will say, well, the innovation can be great, for medical purposes. And I do understand. It's one of those things where I'm like, I can understand how you can run these AI machines to look for cures. My problem is a lot of it, what they're saying, what they said at Project Stargate at the announcement, is antithetical to the Maha movement, which is, I think, a pretty big deal and a big reason why a lot of people voted for Trump. But an example of that would be at the Stargate announcement, they announced that one of the things Stargate could do would create designer vaccines that could cure you of whatever your ailment is. Now, Maha would be, I'd imagine, and I don't know what RFK Jr. thinks about it, although we can surmise what he would say. This is not a good thing. If a lot of us weren't going to do a certain vaccine, like warp speed, why all of a sudden are we going to buy onto something that they created? This is what they said, in 48 hours to cure you. I don't think that's right. There's going to be no testing. But that is what they were saying, and Trump looks on, and he loves it. And I don't blame him, because it sounds great. I don't think it's going to be great for humanity. But that's just one reason why I'm against it. I'll continue. But the recent lectures appear to mark, Silicon Valley leaders have escalated their fight against regulating AI since President Donald Trump's inauguration. Thiel has close ties to administration officials, including J.D. Vance, White House science advisor Michael Kratsios, and David Sachs, who's the AI czar. While White House AI, says that he's the crypto and AI czar. As one of the industry's most influential leaders His effort to cast resisting oversight of technology development as a religious battle could intensify the industry's crusade. So another thing is, when the big beautiful bill was going to be passed, there was something in it that was quite alarming to a lot of people, and that would have been a 10-year moratorium on regulations for AI. So like it actually was going to strip any state's rights, any state's ability to put regulations on AI, which is 10 years. Imagine how fast AI has changed in just the past year or two. So 10 years of the moratorium, you can do whatever you want. And if you think the AI is bad for humanity, that's an eternity. I don't think that's good. Now that was taken out, but then about a month or two later, I think it was the last time, no, it was 2 times ago when we had Joe Allen on, they included it in through another bill with another announcement. So it does seem like there is going to be less regulations now, which fits right in with what he would want. He would want none. But it's going to be tough because I think it's going to damage every facet of reality. It's going to actually, it's a war on your reality and your perception, what it will create, how people use it. You see it hallucinating. People rely on it now. It's their new encyclopedia. They're getting bad information, not all of it, clearly. And it's like a human centipede. It's just taking it from us and everything online. But my goodness, it hallucinates a lot. And for a long time, I refused to use AI. But since I critique it quite a bit, I thought it was kind of ridiculous to not use it and at least understand it in some minimal caveman way that I could. It's like someone criticizing a movie before it comes out or before they've seen it. And I do enjoy being like, hey, what tell me about, Teddy Roosevelt. And it says this stuff, but I've noticed it misses lots of things. I notice it hallucinates, it makes up stuff. I've talked to lawyers who use it, and they're worried because it literally creates like cases that don't exist. So I have a lawyer friend. He did a lot of J6 stuff. Great guy, very smart guy, and he was curious. So he talked about he talked to I think it was Grok, and he asked him about a certain free speech case. And it came back with this answer that said, hey, actually, this was overturned last year, gave him a whole list of things. And he was like, man, that's crazy. I did not hear that. And he tracks this stuff very closely. And turns out just made up the whole thing. And thankfully he knew that. He's a lawyer. He follows that stuff. But imagine how that will go for people who are just, casually trying to learn history about important stuff. that seems crazy to me. That's how we create our own Mandela effects. That's how we totally fracture reality. People believing in completely wrong things. We've already seen it, with deceptive editing and how people believe, they have a bad media diet and they're only listening to the Washington Post or CNN or you name it, or some, whatever your influencer is online who get your information from. So it's all going to be biased to some degree, but we're seeing people outsource so much of their research and knowledge to AI, which I think is going to be very bad for the future. So let me continue. I'll read a little bit more from this. There are a lot of rational reasons I can give why the one world state's a bad idea. He said, turn the planet into a prison. I think the tax rates would be very high, he said, according to the recording. But I think if you strip it from the biblical context, you will never find it scary enough. You will never really resist. He's not the greatest at messaging. If anyone's watched his interviews, you might know that. And you should. I think it's worth, if you care about this stuff, if you like him or you don't, you should be watching his interviews. They're fascinating. The billionaire's lectures were also notable as a forceful display of religiosity in an industry that has historically been secular. Christianity has recently become a significant presence in some influential tech circles, in part because of Acts 17, a collective, a nonprofit dedicated to spreading Christian principles inside the tech industry that organized the Teal lectures. So I know it's getting to caller time, and I could spend another 2 hours on this, but I just want to make a final point with that part in particular. It is my opinion that they are just cosplaying as Christians. I don't know their hearts. I don't. So, and I know I'm not supposed to be judging. I have a very hard time when it comes to people who I think are at war with humanity. But the reason I think that is because they keep throwing this into the Christian's face. And it was something I noticed the Cloud Man did on our when we talked on IRL. They try to bring it down to like to you as a Christian, and I don't know his heart, but it seems like they use it as a cudgel against us to get us on board with it. I think that's fake. I personally don't think they mean it. But, I could be wrong. But in my point of view, Augustus would bring up the dominion mandate, that we have to watch over Earth. And that's what it says in the Bible. But then my argument is I actually think you're destroying it. And there are other ways to watch over, Earth and to take care of it. Whereas a lot of these people are actually doing the opposite. The orchid thing, you can look it up. It's an IVF eugenicist company that's got a Teal Fellow, designer babies. It's very weird. The cloud seeding stuff, not good for, they like the Neuralink, they sell it as it's a good for the farms, right? We're going to help the farmers. But like I said to Augustus, and he said this on the Sean Ryan interview, his first one, the goal is actually to make rain for the data centers. That's this crowd. They need those data centers. So Elon can keep making his anime porn and injecting it into the Twitter algorithm. And it eats up a lot of energy. So I think they're trying to sell it to us with these really great short-term benefits and attaching it to Christianity, because I think that's their toughest sell, is to get the Christians on board. Because the Christians turn out to be the real dissidents at the end of the day. You saw a lot of Christians stand up against mandates. Unfortunately, you saw a lot of others fall and become enslaved by the mandates. But typically, the real dissidents, the real rebels are the Christians who see this as being antithetical. And it's not because they're not anti-innovation, they're not anti-tech, they're anti this technology erasing humanity and separating you from God more than we already have been. And when they say it's going to be better for your children, this AI stuff, and there are people, we did a whole show, Culture War, with 2 young AI guys, and I agree with them on a lot of stuff, but they're promoting schools that are run by AI for children. I think that's insane, and I said as much, but what I said was, okay, the reading levels across this country are terrible right now for children, and everyone's sucked into their phones. Everyone's alone more than ever. Isolation's so bad. Depression's so bad. A lot of it is linked to this technology, which, I'm attached to it too. And we got to learn how to use it as a proper tool and not let it own us, not let it enslave us. But if you think that everything's going to be better now because AI is going to take over as your teachers and educate your children better, but the phones have just done the complete opposite, you're insane.
Dude, our education system sucks with humans running it.
Right. So now we're going to have education run by AI that was built by humans that we know suck.
And that is being publicly told is not as good as us yet. So What makes you think, literally by definition, that that's going to be any better? Right.
I don't get it. I really don't get it. And the other thing is, and I want to get on to, we might have had another story or two to get to before we get to the callers, but why on earth are any of us going to trust any of these tech people after they spent the last 5 years completely destroying everyone online who was a real dissident against the official narrative? Like Teal, he considers himself a subverter. And I can appreciate that, although I think he's doing it in the wrong way. And I don't agree with a lot of it. But the Altmans, the Zuckerbergs, the Hoffmans, they hate you. They actually hate you. And Zuckerberg went, the government, Biden went to him and said, hey, censor these people. Boom, censored. How many people lost their livelihoods off of these platforms? How many voices were censored? How many people died because they didn't get appropriate information because it was actually labeled as misinformation? The censorship actually kills. And we saw it during COVID. We saw it during lockdowns. And now they're going to rebrand as MAGA, and we're just going to be totally on board with that? No way. I really don't know why anyone's buying into it. I said it last night, but that dinner that Trump had with all those guys, Bill Gates, we know how he feels about us, Zuckerberg, they're all there. I'm like, why are we embracing them? They give a lot of money to the administration, and they're getting a lot back. They're getting a lot back. Look at the amount of money they're getting to build data centers. It's not good. And I don't trust them. I don't trust their rebrand. Just because they're saying things that I might agree with now, just because they're voting a certain way, does not mean they should be trusted at all. When they talk about a wolf in a sheep in wolf in sheep's clothing. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. And that's what Augustus said to me when we talked on IRL. That's what it is. They're just cosplaying as your friend to get back in their good graces, so we'll accept their dystopia. And I will not have it. I think they hate, I know they hate us. They've said that. they acted on that hatred. And Palantir also did that. Palantir went and helped erase and go after a lot of the far right. I'm putting that in quotes for those listening. In Europe, they helped deliver a lot of the COVID vaccines. And that's, mostly with Alex Karp, who's running it now. These people are insane. Alex Karp is one of these people who like cried on J6. So you're going to tell me they all had a change of heart all of a sudden and they're our friends now? That's a lie. They hate you. And everything they're doing is an attempt to ingratiate themselves into us, to make us buy into it, because now all of a sudden they're good Christians. I don't believe it. Again, I don't know their hearts, but I think their hearts are rotten. And I don't see what you guys think. Mr. Corona said, I miss being young and stupid. Now I'm just old and dumb. Me too, man. Me too.
It felt a lot freer. I'll give it that.
We didn't know. Ignorance is bliss is a psyop, though.
But yeah, well, there's parts of us that didn't want to know.
Yeah.
Let's just not pay attention to this as long as humanly possible, so that there's nothing that can actually steal our youth away from us. That's kind of how we felt.
Yep. Yeah. It like COVID. That's why I think COVID was a blessing. As terrible as it was, it forced a lot of people to be like, okay, these people really hate us. They're lying to us. And a lot of parents woke up.
You hear that, guys? Shane is pro-COVID. Get him.
I was. COVID was great. Viruses aren't real, but it was a bioweapon. It was like a psyop bioweapon that, look, a lot of people got sick and a lot of people died, but they had comorbidities. And I was in New York in the thick of it all, watching people freak out. Man, it was like an invasion in my town. Seriously, one night the white tents all of a sudden appeared, the Humvees appeared, the bright lights appeared. There were digital signs blinking on the roadway: stay at home, stay safe. It was like an alien invasion. I imagine it's what they might do if 3i Atlas gets any closer. But nothing was
staying home is not going to be congruent to staying safe if Atlas comes.
Right.
There's nowhere you are going to be able to hide.
It's true. It's just a comet, though. There's nothing happening. But yeah, it's not good. It's not good. So what else did I send you? I do want to get to callers, but I knew there was something else I wanted to say with so much news.
There's a lot of stuff out there,
so much stuff.
and not even touching the alien side yet. Just still staying on the robotic spectrum of things.
Okay. Do we have people waiting to call?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we got a story.
Okay, because there's two things, real quick, to just marry these ideas of the dystopia of isolation and degeneracy, AI and robots. Pull up that Routers article about ChatGPT. About OpenAI and ChatGPT. This is a great one.
The mature content allowance.
Did you guys catch this awesome article today? OpenAI to allow mature content on ChatGPT for adult verified users starting December. From another unrepentant sinner known as Sam Altman. OpenAI will allow mature content from ChatGPT users who verify their age on the platform starting in December, CEO Sam Altman said, after the chatbot was made restricted for users in mental distress. Like, we've seen people take their lives because of ChatGPT, because they've fallen in love with it, or because they've used it as a therapist and something's gone wrong, kind of connecting back to the safety issues that they're having with these robots. And it's wild. We've also seen a way it attacks children and the way it can operate the algorithms on Facebook to attack young women in particular. We had a whistleblower testifying on Congress in April talking about how Zuckerberg's full of it. She was a Meta whistleblower, and that their algorithm will look at, if, like, this is the one example I like to use, I think it's insane. The algorithm will say, hey, this young girl just deleted her profile, her picture of herself, a selfie. That must mean she's depressed. So let's alert all of our advertisers and send her commercials, because people tend to buy things when they're depressed. I think that's just insane. It was underage girls too, just dystopian. Anyway, this is a quote from Mr. Altman. As we roll out age gating more fully, and as part of our treat adult users like adults principle, we will allow even more like erotica for verified adults. I'm not even going to try to do an Altman impression. It's way too gay.
Is that what that was? I was like, what the hell is
got
that?
That little gay register. I just can't do it. Altman said that OpenAI had made ChatGPT pretty restrictive to make sure it was being careful with mental health issues, though that made the chatbot less useful, enjoyable to many users who had no mental health problems. OpenAI has been able to mitigate mental health issues and has new tools, Altman said. I wonder what those are. Adding that it is going to safely relax restrictions in most cases. In the coming weeks, OpenAI will release a version of ChatGPT that will allow people to better dictate the tone and personality of the chatbot, Altman said. If you want your ChatGPT to respond in a very human-like way, or use a ton of emoji, or act like a friend, ChatGPT should do it. But only if you want it, not because we are usage maxing, according to Altman. I can't stand these people. Earlier on Tuesday, Meta unveiled a new system to limit what users under 18 can see on Instagram and its generative AI tools using filters inspired by PG-13 the PG-13 movie rating system. So that's the whole article. Basically, Altman is creating AI porn, like chatbots, for you to never leave your house. And now imagine when just down the road you can upload that into your humanoid that's doing your laundry. Well, it used to do your laundry. And God knows what you're doing to it now. Oh, goodness gracious. But before we go on, let's just pull up that Tucker Alex Jones thing, since we're talking about Teal. It's that the interview they put out last night. Shout out to Rex Jones, who was on last night. We had Alex's son on last night while his dad put out this interview with Tucker. Everyone should watch it. But if you scroll down to, you can see where they listed the links for different timestamps. If you hit the one for Peter Thiel at 1 hour and 41 minutes, it'll take us to their conversation about the man who's obsessed with the Antichrist.
It leads them to defend like murder and stuff.
While we're on theology, exactly. While we're on theology, what do you think of Peter Thiel's whole Antichrist lecture?
You know, I haven't seen it. I have talked to him about it at great length. I think it's really interesting. I didn't really get to the punchline on that. So the question everyone, has is, okay, who's the Antichrist? I think maybe there's more than one. I don't know.
It's a system.
Right. So I would just say I'm not taking a pass on the question. I would, but I don't, this is so far out of my depth. I mean, I'm just sort of at the I'm for Jesus stage of things, but, I'm glad that there's a conversation about it. I welcome all conversations about the transcendent because I think it's what matters.
Well, exactly, because, I love the a comedian, Tim Dillon. He's like, this guy's got all this cashless control grid, or this, and then he wants to know about the Antichrist. Well, he grew up really Christian. People don't know, Peter Thiel, and then now he's wanting to have a debate about it. I don't think the Antichrist wants you to have a debate about the Antichrist.
I think that's probably right. And just in general, it's worth talking about and reminding ourselves and others that this is just like a small piece of what's real. We're just seeing a tiny fraction of reality. Like the spiritual world, that realm is as real as, the table we're sitting at. And people lose sight of that. I lose sight of that.
Exactly. So we should be having not just Peter Thiel, everybody, Donald Trump, you and I, we should be discussing Revelation, what's described really happening now.
Yeah.
So we should be having, oh God, Peter Thiel's the Antichrist. He's talking about the Antichrist. What? Because some people are like, well, what's he doing talking about the Antichrist? Well, I think we should all be talking about it.
Well, because I think the temptation is to just ignore the whole topic. I mean, that's the world that I grew up in, where it was just never discussed.
Devil doesn't exist. It was just
100%. People's sex lives were a frequent topic of conversation. Everyone was super liberal about that. Like, no one was embarrassed of anything except any question that transcended the material was just considered, like death was considered totally off limits because it pointed to these obvious questions, like what happens then? And so I really welcome that. I think all healthy societies face death.
Exactly.
Directly.
People go, oh, you're a Peter Thiel dick writer. No, you should be having a discussion about Antichrist. Why aren't you? And so what I haven't seen the presentation.
So people, I'm sorry, I missed a lot because I do think the internet's demonic. Sorry, I know I work on the internet.
All right, Shane, calm down.
So I haven't seen any of
He
this.
doesn't have a
people
phone.
Are attacking Teal for this?
Oh, I mean, it's like, oh yeah. It's like they haven't even found out what he's saying. I've read some of the articles. I tried to get tickets, but it was already sold out. But I wanted to see his view on it. But all I know is that we should be having a discussion about the Antichrist. I mean, we're having one already here. And so what is the Antichrist? I think you need to know the enemy. I think you need to know.
Let me pause it there.
Well,
it's fair. It's fair. And as much as I joke about Teal being the Antichrist because he sweats blood, because he injects the blood of young boys into his body to try to live longer, based on studies where they sewed mice together, an old mouse and a young mouse, to see what happened. I don't think he is Antichrist. I think he is building it. I think they're all building it. And like when Elon says they're summoning the demon, I think that is going to become something, that is a false god, lower G god. That's how they talk about it. It's omniscient. It will be omniscient. False omniscience, not like God, but that's kind of what it does. If you're talking about the surveillance state and the things that Palantir does, Clearview, another Teal thing, which is the facial recognition, this is building out this false machine omniscience, lower G God, that to me is an antichrist. I think Alex said this. It's a system. It's not just it's an antichrist. And there'll be multiples. And that is what the Bible says. And the Bible says that the antichrist will actually, I think it says it will not openly say it believes in Christ, which is what Teal does say. He believes in Christ, which, muddies those waters. It's interesting. I totally agree with the conversation needs to be had. I don't know if, I love Alex, but I don't know if they're taking as seriously as, if they're taking Teal and what he's funding seriously enough. I don't know. Guys, prove me wrong. Maybe I'm just a hater and a Luddite and a legionnaire of the Antichrist, according to Teal. But I think he and his friends are building hell on earth. Total slavery, total information awareness, outsourcing death and accountability to machines. I mean, Elon laughs. He literally laughs about how it could either be a great future or, his words, Skynet. He says that. I think that, but he is literally saying that, and he's the one behind a lot of this stuff. So it's wild. It's wild. And I know a lot of people are, I've noticed, the funny thing is as much crap as I can talk, as much as I could critique, say, the left or certain type of neocons, like a Lindsey Graham, a corpse like Mitch McConnell, I've never been blacklisted as much from the right as I have by talking about Peter Thiel. So I understand there's a lot of, it's almost taboo to talk about Peter Thiel in negative. People will be like, well, I hear everyone talk about Peter Thiel in negative light. And I do too. But I'm telling you, in a lot of the influencer circles, they really don't want to talk about it. A lot of them are major. Go look up Twitter and just search Thiel's name on certain influencers in the right leaning space, and they love him. I think he's disgusting. I think everything he's building is hellish. But it's funny how you'll get, as I got blacklisted as much as I did when I put out the Kanye story. But it's different with Thiel because he's so ingrained in MAGA, and he is, he made Peter Thiel. I mean, he made JD Vance, in like a Palantir test tube. Look into it. It's interesting. I find it interesting. And I don't like it. And I think it's okay to talk about those things. And I love hearing other people's takes. I haven't heard one yet that changes my mind, because I deeply believe this stuff about these guys. I think they really don't like us. I think they're building stuff that will not be a benefit to you. It'll be a benefit to them in their future of transhumanism and total information awareness and war. And yeah, I see you guys in the chat saying like Les Wexner as well. I mean, he hasn't talked at all about Epstein, and of course Epstein and Thiel have their connections. A lot of people do, and it's not to say just because someone like David Blaine also has an Epstein connection. Doesn't mean everyone who was in his orbit was a deranged lunatic, but I think a lot of them were. But I'll tell you what, I'm not voting for JD Vance because of this. I really don't like this camp of people, and they have proved nothing to me on why we should trust them. So, Melchizedek says Shane needs to talk to Jesus too on this chat. Jesus too, would you call in for all of us? Could hear you preach. At first I thought he was talking about just Jesus. Jesus one, the OG Jesus, the Christ. But I guess there's someone in chat named Jesus. But we could all talk to Jesus. But let's get to some callers, shall we? I know we had a lot of other stories pulled up, and maybe we can get to them later tomorrow. While you do that, I'll just briefly say, since we're talking about Alex Jones, big news came out of InfoWars today. We talked about it last night with Rex. I think it's ridiculous. It's more evidence that our justice system is completely captured. And I like some of our Supreme Court justices. But we've seen how weaponized the DOJ and judges have become against the American people. If you tune into IRL last night, you listened to Peter Navarro talk about how the judge didn't allow him to, he stripped him of all his proper defenses, which is a similar thing that happened to Alex Jones with the Sandy Hook stuff. He wasn't able to really present a defense. It was like Rex said, he was there just to see how guilty he was. You know, he's already determined to be guilty. And like I said on IRL last night, there are journalists who were at J6 who have a long history of being journalists who are then, you know, imprisoned or fined heavily. And in a lot of their cases, they were not allowed to show that they had a history of being a journalist. Literally couldn't show credentials. Anyway, we got this from the AP today. Supreme Court rejects Alex Jones' appeal of $1.4 billion defamation judgment in Sandy Hook shooting. The Supreme Court on Tuesday rejected an appeal from conspiracy theorist Alex Jones and left in place the $1.4 billion judgment against him over his description of the 2012 Sandy Hook elementary school shooting as a hoax staged by crisis actors. It is a little more nuanced than that, and I really wish Alex never apologized, but I don't know what it's like to be in that situation. That was insane, coordinated tech effort to remove him from all platforms, plus the lawsuits. So, you know, I understand. But the apology, man, it's they use that against you. But again, I can't imagine what this was like for Alex. The InfoWars host had argued that a judge was wrong to find him liable for defamation and infliction of emotional distress without holding a trial on the merits of allegations lodged by relatives of victims of the shooting, which killed 20 first graders and 6 educators in Newtown, Connecticut. The justices did not comment on their order, which they issued without even asking the families of the Sandy Hook victims to respond to Jones' appeal. An FBI agent who responded to the shooting also sued. A lawyer who represents Sandy Hook families said the Supreme Court had properly rejected Jones' latest desperate attempt to avoid accountability for the harm he has caused. Now, you know, you can go after the show and listen to Rex at the beginning of yesterday's show. He gives a good overview of everything that happened. I'm sure a lot of you guys already know. But there's a lot more nuance to him, like just saying the whole thing's fake and crisis actors. You know, he was listening to people who were calling to the show, who were writing in the show, who had questions. And this kind of ties into how, you know, last night before IRL, Peter Navarro looked at me and he goes, "You're the conspiracy guy." And I said, "I'm a historian." And I mean that in that, obviously not like a credentialed one. But what I mean is,
It's like, did we just unlock another career path at the great Shane Cashman that we didn't know about? Go ahead.
No, my PhD is a $20 fake degree from online in divinity.
Wait, what's the PhD in?
Divinity, I think.
You're the first to actually release what their PhD is.
Yeah, that's right.
Congrats.
Get it right. People have messaged me about the degree, and I send them the link. I like what I told my students when I quit teaching. I said, you know, you guys just quit college, go get a $20 degree and just apply to places and say you got this degree. It's as meaningless as the one you're paying an exorbitant amount for. Anyway, what I meant by the historian remark is that Alex had every right to say anything he wanted, even if that made him sound ghoulish to many people, which, you know, I understand. We're talking about dead kids. We're talking about a crazy tragedy, although, you know, people have different takes on that as well, because we know about false flags. And again, false flags doesn't mean fake violence. False flags typically means real violence has been done to blame it on someone else to then promote war. Case in point, Operation Northwoods, our own Joint Chiefs of Staff went to JFK. General Lemnitzer said, "Hey, JFK, we want to maybe bomb some airplanes of our own civilians and maybe, you know, kill a bunch of innocent people and blame it on Cuba so we can go to war." And JFK was like, "That's crazy. No," fired Lemnitzer. And you know, soon after JFK was shot. But, you know, RFK Jr. says he doesn't actually think the rejecting Northwoods was the reason for his assassination. And, you know, he's got a lot of interesting takes on that as well, plus his father being assassinated. But, you know, Lemnitzer then went on to run NATO for a while NATO was, a lot of people think NATO was behind a lot of the false flags in Italy during the years of lead, which were very similar situations to what Northwoods would have done. So when I say historian, I mean, like, I'm just looking at the history, like Alex. The only reason Alex is saying this could have been a false flag, could have been a hoax, could have been crisis actors, is because there's a history of this stuff happening. And we have every right to say those things, even if that makes you uncomfortable. And I don't get as many death threats as I get unless I'm defending Alex. And so I felt like today I should repeat something that I said a year ago when the judge ruled that he had to be removed from InfoWars, and they raided his studio. I said, I think Alex Jones should sue the Sandy Hook families. And, because at the time, it seemed like, what are you doing? Are you actually grieving the loss of your children? Or do you want to destroy a man for asking questions because you actually don't like free speech? You actually don't like questions. And, I know people who literally don't even know who Adam Lanza is. They think Alex Jones is behind Sandy Hook. They have no idea. They don't even remember the shooter's name. They have so effectively turned Alex, and these are his words, into like a devil through the mainstream media, that so many people just think he's the villain behind the whole thing for asking questions. But again, a lot of those questions are rooted in historical fact. So, when they try to use conspiracy theorists against you, I think it's ridiculous. And I think he was an experiment and a test run for what they want to do. Obviously, when it came to COVID, look how that happened. They went after everyone online with these tech guys we were just talking about earlier in the show. And like I said last night to Rex, I see, what Candace is doing. You guys can hate her or love her, and I'm all for her asking questions and doing her thing. She's already being sued by France. I imagine there's gonna be some more lawsuits, and they always want to set an example, But again, I think we have the right to ask those questions, and it does make people uncomfortable. I understand that, but this is a major attack on free speech. And people online, like, I'm already getting inundated with some good old threats, such as, I'll read some. Hope your kids are killed. And people like you deny that reality. So it's just interesting to me, there's a lot of those. I don't have to read them all. But it's interesting to me that, people saying I should be turned into a bunch of holes, what they mean. So fascinating to me that the people who defend who are saying that they're sad about children being shot so quickly turn to violence, violent language. A lot of it is trolling, I think, but you never know. And I think, you can't let these people struggle session you into being quiet now more than ever, because there's a lot at stake. Our freedom is at stake. The country's at stake. We're sliding really fast into some sort of hell on earth. So the questions are very important, and the good questions are the ones that upset the most evil people, because they're the ones controlling that narrative. So it's just a bummer to see that. It's just more evidence, like I said, of the justice system being either captured or afraid, and that's an issue. So let's get to some callers, shall we?
Yeah, we're gonna bring on X, just X, the letter X.
Is it actually Twitter?
No, I don't think
Is
so.
Twitter calling me right now for everything I said?
We're gonna find out.
Ay, ay, ay.
First, I need Twitter to unmute their mic.
Everyone just drank.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Welcome to the show.
What's going on, guys?
Not a whole lot.
Hanging out.
What's going on tonight?
Not much. I was just playing some Call of Duty here.
Sick.
Is it the new one? I heard it's terrible.
No, we're just playing Warzone, so I mean it's kind of all
okay.
of them in one.
Yeah. Warzone's. Yeah, I got
Is that
you.
the old school one?
I don't really like it, but
Warzone's kind of like the drop-in Fortnite version,
Oh, I
where
love
it's
that.
just massive. Yeah, but I digress. Go on.
Exactly. Yes. So I mean, I guess I got a couple stories for you here. One's a weird alien story. I maybe not alien, just UFO in general, but I feel like I haven't heard any of this. Hold on. Here we go. Anyways, I haven't heard any of this from any other sources or anything anywhere I look, Reddit. But one night I come home from work as a security guard, and it's like maybe 4 or 5 in the morning, something like that.
Mhm.
And I get some Wendy's to go eat, and I'm walking outside, and I sit on this hill by a ditch, and I'm eating my food, and I look up over the city, and just barely I see this weird looking helicopter. Like, it's, imagine a helicopter but without a tail rotor, and there was no lights on it, and no rotor on top at all, right? So it's like floating across the city.
Okay.
And the only reason I'm seeing this is because it's being illuminated from underneath by the city lights.
Okay. You're seeing the lights from the city reflect on the bottom of this craft.
Not necessarily reflect, just like it's illuminating it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And now, if you can kind of, do you know what's that one game? N7.
I don't.
What is it?
Last game I played was Mario 64.
You say
No.
N7, are you talking
it's,
about biomass or why does that sound familiar?
It's a space game, and I remember there's an N7 in it.
Yeah, no, that's why the hell can't I think of the name right now? It's not biomass. Is it biomass? I think biomass is the other one.
Something like that. I can't
there's
remember.
Andromeda. I remember what the hell it was.
There's something in it that looks like what you saw.
No. It just kind of like,
Mass
if you can
Effect.
imagine
Mass
that kind of
Effect.
style, that
Yeah.
N7. It's because I remember like a red stripe going around the bottom of it.
Yeah,
And
it's
for
Mass
some reason I
Effect.
just like can see it in that game. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's Mass Effect. Thank you.
There you
Chad.
go. Yeah, Mass Effect.
Nice. Good call.
I couldn't get it out of my mouth. Thank you.
So and you know, at this moment I wasn't like on anything. I normally smoke weed, but I stepped outside and I wasn't doing anything at that. No drinking, nothing like that. And you know, normally I'm in my right mind. I would say I don't really have any, at least medically diagnosed you know, psychosis or anything like that. So what I believe I saw there was very, very interesting. You know, I kind of stared at it, and it was a very surreal, like almost, you know, people say, well, it could look back at you. You know what I mean? So I wanted to kind of avoid getting too invested in it. So
Did it make a sound?
no sounds at all. Like and it was close enough to hear. Normally you hear helicopters pretty far within the city. So
Right.
and because it's like a valley, so you could hear a lot of sounds.
Right.
So I really don't know what it was. I would think military, most like some sort of unknown tech that we have.
For
That's
sure.
what I guess, because it looks so familiar
Right.
but foreign at the same time.
Yeah, it sounds like, you know, we've discussed these stories where just recently the Pentagon was caught lying about they were creating extraterrestrial stories, but just as a cover for Lockheed Martin Raytheon technology. So people were seeing things, thinking it was like extraterrestrial, and the Pentagon kind of like, yeah, that's what it was, you know, more or less, you know, seeding that into the internet when it was really, you know, some crazy thing that we're funding with our tax dollars.
Right, of course, yeah. So that was, you know, immediately one of the things that I was thinking, because again, it did look so familiar.
How long
But
did it,
yeah, I've
did
just
it-
wanted to put it out there because I feel like there's not a lot of people who've also shared this experience or seen something like this in general. You know,
how did it disappear? Did you watch that? Did it move fast?
well, it was just kind of hovering, like hovering but moving forward slowly.
Okay.
It was like a weird, almost like like a bag in the wind, if you will, but obviously stable and moving in one straight direction.
And it just kept going in that direction, and you watched.
Right, and it was going south to north.
Interesting. Are you around, without doxing yourself, I guess, any military or Air Force bases?
Yeah, I guess I am. Yeah.
Because a lot of those weird sightings do happen around those places for some reason. And then the argument is, well, it's extraterrestrials who are coming to observe the military, or it's the military doing a joyride on the military and testing it out. The latter is the one I typically feel is the one that's happening the most, but you never know.
Yeah. Honestly, the feeling I had was more of a surveillance kind of vibe. I couldn't tell you exactly why. It's just what I felt at the moment.
Interesting. Yep. I feel like that's what a lot of it is. Stealth and surveillance. For us, for everyone, that's what they've been working for, mass surveillance. I mean, and with the technology, 40s and 50s. I mean, goes back a little before that, but you look into stuff they were doing with Project Echelon. It's wild. And that was in the 60s when they really built those things. They didn't fly around, but they're antennas that a lot of them are hidden underneath these things called radomes, which they look like giant golf balls. And they can just point those antennas anywhere and pick up anyone's conversation anywhere. Some interesting old documentaries on YouTube about that for anyone interested in terms of the surveillance stuff. But I imagine, because what you're saying is that type of technology will eventually go into the air. Obviously, we know they built planes to do that very thing. But, I can't help but think of the drones of last December, the Jersey drones, whatever those were. Those types of things will most likely, I'll say inevitably, become the way they surveil a lot of us.
Oh, yeah, of course. And I mean, that raid dome technology, I think they use that in football now, right?
Oh, I don't know. Interesting. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think they used it maybe back then. Now I'm pretty sure they use on helmet mics, but yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's wild. Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate the story, and I appreciate you calling in.
Of course. I have another one, just a real quick one.
Yeah, go for it.
If you guys don't mind.
Totally.
This one, it was when I was young, and I don't know exactly why the circumstance happens. I'm pretty sure it was because I was scared. I was very scared of the dark when I was a kid, and maybe for good reason. At this moment, I went to sleep in what was our old baby room, so it's a lot smaller, and for some reason my mom wanted me to sleep on the outside of the bed because I didn't want to sleep on the outside of the bed. So I was sleeping on the outside of the bed, and this is facing into the living room, and you could see the TV and out to we had a fireplace there, so the fireplace was on a not a paralleling, the other one, a 90-degree wall to the TV. So the TV I'd be looking almost directly at the TV, and then I could see the fireplace to the right.
Okay.
And as I'm kind of falling asleep, or I don't really necessarily know whether I was falling asleep or if it was, because I was still scared. I was very scared that night. And mind you, my sister had gone over to her friends to spend the night. And as I kind of open my eyes for a second, I just see what looks like a hand move out. And this is a gap behind the TV, like a tiny gap behind the TV. And I see a hand touch the wall, and then a face move forward into the gap with two red eyes. And that, and I closed my eyes and went to bed. That's what I remember.
And that was it.
Yep.
Was it like a shadow, or did it appear more physical?
Well, I feel like the red eyes would make it more physical than it was very solid, but it was a very dark figure, and it was night. I feel like anybody leaning on that wall would look like a pretty dark figure anyways.
Mm-hmm.
I know Shane's next question. Was it wearing a hat?
No hat, no
Okay.
hat. It was a woman. I could see the hair.
Ooh,
It was not me.
even
All
worse
right.
if it was a woman.
I've been
okay.
exonerated once again.
Yeah, because people see Hat Man a lot, and it does seem those Hat Man stories tend to happen to children, especially when the child has gone through some sort of trauma. Seems to be the theme here with those types of stories, but yours is a little different. Although you are telling us you were scared of the dark, but yeah, I always the shadow entity stuff. I don't know if that's exactly what you saw, but that's it's bizarre. Did you ever see anything like that again?
Never again. I did have a couple weird experiences in that room, like the door would open by itself every now and then. But nothing else too crazy like that.
Well, thankfully it didn't get you.
Exactly right.
People, man. I mean, like, look, I still listen to a lot of old Art Bell, Coast to Coast shows,
Oh, yeah,
and
love the show.
he was so good. The thing that scared him the most, he said quite a bit, were the Hat Man stories, the shadow entity stuff, and that guy heard a lot of stories. So I always think of Art Bell, and shout out to Art Bell. Obviously, a big inspiration of this show. But hey, man, thanks for calling. Appreciate that.
Of course. Yeah. You guys have a good night.
You
Thank
too.
you.
All right. When well, you pull up someone else. I'm going to read just a few comments I saw here. Let me see if I can find them. Let me see here. Sorry, guys. I took some screenshots, so I don't forget them. Well, thank you for the prayers. I see that. I'm assuming that's in regards to some of the crazy things people were saying. Someone else said, I want to find it, that it could be bots. They certainly could be bots in terms of people saying crazy stuff to me online. I typically think everyone's a bot because I do believe in dead internet theory, but I know a lot of us are not, and I think there are definitely real people. And I also think people just like to say things, So, but I always find it interesting that those are the things they want to say. They love to speak violently. So what else do I have here? Metal Flakes said, "My threat to Shane is I would politely ask you to perform one of your old metal songs." I don't know if I have the scream in me still. The death metal scream is still there.
You throw out your back, trying to scream.
Like when I sneeze. But yeah, we have, there's been discussions every now and then when I see the old gang about playing those songs again. It was so much fun. But I did a lot of damage to my body on stage.
Oh yeah.
Like dude, you're playing drums. It's even worse for you.
Oh man, the things I go through.
It's brutal. It's brutal.
I was not nice to myself on stage. I can tell you that.
And I was not nice to my bandmates. I was in quite a lot of trouble breaking other people's microphone stands. I am sorry to every venue out there across America.
Oh,
whose
don't be
microphone
sorry to
stand-
them. Don't be sorry to them.
Why?
Because you brought the performance and they made money
Okay.
that night. If you did it right.
Yeah.
If you did it correctly.
I mean, I think I did. We got paid, and I had a great time.
Usually if you got paid, you did it
Yeah.
fine, unless they're just copping out and
But
trying to get you out of their
a
venue.
microphone stand is such a great spear for the audience, for your bassist, for the roof. I remember I was not a good person in my former life. I just like to have fun on stage, and some of these venues would have the office tile ceilings, and there'd be like a skate park in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, one in particular, or Monroe, Louisiana, actually. And I was just like, this thing needs to be destroyed. I am so sorry. It was actually a Christian skate park. So this is back when I was way before I was Christian. And, something happens, you're on stage, the metal takes over. I'm stabbing the ceiling. I'm breaking mic stands. I'm throwing the microphone around my neck. I'm making my poor bass player bleed out of his face. Sorry, Maddie. And then I got off the stage. I'm like, my gosh, what have I done? And these very nice Christian people who ran the skate park came up to me and said, "Great show. Here's your money." I was like, "Thank you. I love you guys." Real quick, what else do we got here? Kosher 19 says, "Moon landing is fake. Earth is flat. CIA dungeons with aliens. Zionists are the problem, but don't blame Jews. Jews are great." That's I think a very fair post. Very fair post. Although I'm not so sure about the Earth being flat, I do think it might be pear-shaped.
Yeah. And Alex Jones is actually Jonah Jameson, and he's been demanding pictures of Spider-Man. I mean, come on. Even if he sounds like, close your eyes, honestly, he's Jonah Jameson.
Well, Rex, who we had on last night, I meant to say this, but I forgot. But on his Twitter recently, he did say, he confirmed it, that his dad is actually Bill Hicks. I believe it.
Wow.
I believe it. I just want to make sure I get a few others here. Stephen Webb, you said I live in Jersey, Shane, and it was planes, not UFO. People are just clueless. I think a lot of it was planes. I do think a lot of people were seeing things that they were like, it was like a panic swept through the population, and they're like, oh, everything I see in the sky is a UFO. And it certainly were planes. I also have family in Jersey, and they were sending me videos of stuff. I don't think those were planes. They were right over their apartment building. They never had planes fly that low over their apartment building. I think there was weird things. I do think there was also people flying private drones. There was that story about it, like an Iranian mothership of drones. I don't know if I bought that. Other people saying it was Chinese drones. I personally think it was our government kind of testing out the skies and seeing people freak out. There was something else I wanted to find. Sorry, guys. I want to find it really quick here. Yes, Chris Seven Brook. This guy on the call, our last caller, is explaining exactly what I saw. Give us a call. If you can't tonight, call in some other night. We'll be here tomorrow and Thursday. I love hearing stories corroborating other stories. So sweet. Thank you guys. Thank you guys again for being here with us. It's amazing. This chat is the best. Love you all. And let's get into another call, shall we?
Yeah, we're gonna go to Matt.
Sweet.
I'm in love with the nitrous.
You got nitrous on?
No, I was quoting Kanye.
Oh man. Oh yeah. True.
I was like, whoa, what did we just walk in
I
on?
hope he's off the nitress.
No, you guys caught me off guard. I was like, they're definitely gonna follow me when I go in and grab some ice cream. Yeah, so let me mute this.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for picking on me. So I just want to call out the whole Neuralink thing, because they're literally just preying on people with spinal cord injuries. That thing, it's a all right, so it's in your brain.
Yep.
I myself have a C7 spinal cord injury.
Okay.
All right. 18 years now. I've worked in multiple neuro labs, and what happens is you get a glial scar at the site of your injury. Okay. And anywhere else that you would get a scar on your body, macrophages usually would clear that up for you. They would eat that away, but it doesn't happen for some reason in the spinal cord. And you only need 10% of your axons to be able to function fairly normally. So like with a brain injury, that would happen as well. So you would need, for somehow, the Neuralink to bypass the brain and then bypass that glial scar in your spinal cord and then plug into the rest of you. I think it's really just for Ubermensch and spying on your thoughts and everything.
I totally agree. Would you be a candidate for something like Neuralink?
Oh yeah, they've actually contacted me. University of Miami recently contacted me.
Wow.
And I turned that down. I've been in a whole bunch of clinical trials. I raised money for umbilical cord stem cell trials at Rutgers. I was in a whole bunch of robotic trials and stuff at multiple neuro labs. And even when I had a nonprofit raising money for these things, it seems that, I've been in this for almost 20 years now. Every about 3 to 5 years, they put out some article, oh, man walks again, and all this stuff. And it's usually just some recycled technology. They do transcutaneous dermal implants to stimulate with an electro stimulator to try to stimulate movement. And that's kind of the best thing that they've come up with, and the safest thing, because you can remove it. They also have a subcutaneous one. If Elon really cared, he would probably there's this thing called an exoskeleton, and you just sit on it on the edge of your bed or whatever, you strap into it.
Right.
And it's basically robotic legs that assist you.
I've seen those. Yeah. Are those at a place now where people are purchasing those or getting those and they work, or are those still in development?
Oh my God. It's total BS, because like I said, almost 20 years ago, The company that created the first one, they contacted me. They're like, yeah, $120,000 for this thing. And you mean to tell me over 20 years they haven't made that thing cheaper or more available?
Right.
Meanwhile, they want to push out robots to everybody.
Right.
It shows you where their priorities are.
Great point. Great point. Was there ever a point where you thought Neuralink would be a good thing, like in the beginning? Because they've been talking about these brain-computer interfaces for quite some time.
Right. So it's just a computer interface. So all you can do is manipulate things with computer interface.
Yeah.
It's not going to help me walk. It's not going to help me, get back to normal life, doing whatever backflips or anything. It's not.
Right.
It's not what it seems. They're preying on the, like the hopes of people, because this is a desperate situation for most people. I mean, I've moved on and made a life for myself, but I see so many people who are just totally broken by this.
It seems like there's a lot of propaganda behind it, from in Neuralink in particular. And, I've followed pretty closely the first person to get it, Nolan.
Yep.
And I was supposed to interview him, and I think Elon killed that story. That's a whole other story. But you can imagine why. We're not friendly. But I was really interested. I wasn't going to be mean to Nolan. I'm genuinely fascinated on what it's like. And like when I was talking to Nolan through Twitter, it took me about 3 messages to realize this guy's not using his hands. I mean, I knew that, but I didn't know that because I'm like, he's using his brain and that computer chip to send me these messages. And I was just like, wow, that is wild. But like, it's weird with the propaganda because they're, again, if you listen to the earlier part of the show, I'm talking about this, like they're trying to wrap it into Christianity or just religion in general. And then, Nolan named his Neuralink Eve. And
Creepy.
It's weird, right?
Yep. Everything is always some kind of esoteric occult meaning, either regarding the Bible or some kind of pantheon of gods.
Yeah.
They really don't care. They just want to control us, and they're going to use it under the guise of, oh, you don't want to help people with spinal cord injuries? You don't want to help little Nolan walk again? You don't want to help him?
Terrible.
It's screwed up. And then I heard also Peter Thiel talking about how it's the next, it aligns with Orthodox Christianity and how it's to transcend the human body.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, wow, that's not a misrepresentation if I ever heard one, right?
Insane. It's insane to me. But yeah, I mean, like, it's very hard for me to say, like, I want people who are, if they can't walk, if they have seizures, if they can't see, of course I want to help them. Of course. But I'm thinking like this is not exactly like you put it perfectly. They're preying on all of us. They're preying on the people that are having these different issues, whatever it is, the seizures and the hearing issues, the blindness. They're preying on them and they're preying on everyone else because they're saying, just like you're saying, we want to help everybody. Of course we want to help everybody. But can we not see how this is going to be turned against us like everything else? And so what are some things that people could promote that can help people who can't walk right now? I know we've had another caller who was talking about. I got the name wrong.
Right, I didn't want to like discourage him or anything. That guy, I could hear like the hope in him, and I hear from a lot of people. But being like in this industry, I was like, it's just bullshit, like the rest of the stuff. And also, walking is such a low hanging fruit for us. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's kind of the last thing that we care about. Right. We have like neurogenic bladder. We have limbic system and autonomic system dysregulation. I can't sweat. I can't control my body temperature. Wow. Our hands don't work like that. So walking is a low hanging fruit. It's naivety. Like I didn't know any of this until it happened to me. And then, to find out also like my arms work, just my hands don't work.
Wow.
So I was like, why, when I was in physical therapy, I was like, why does it say quadriplegic? And quadriplegic is not like Stephen Hawking. It's just impairment on all 4 limbs.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So some positive things to do would be everything. Also, there's a cripple tax. Everything is extremely expensive when you have this kind of thing. So There's things like electrostimulation bikes, FES bikes. They're called functional electrostimulation bikes. You could also buy a TENS unit, put it on your muscles. Just try to stay active and do whatever little exercise you can, and get out into the world. I mean, you could definitely become agoraphobic with this kind of thing, but
Matt, I gotta ask you, man.
ask away. I'm open book.
With all of this stuff going on, if they were actually able to prove that this could in some way impact your recovery, or even quite possibly reverse the damage that's been done to you, would you consider it at that point?
No, I would not get it because I would not trust that thing in my head. I would not trust that they're not going to do the same thing that they've done with our phones, our emails, our everything, our whole electronic signature. I don't trust them at all. They could project friggin' sounds into my head with voice to skull and everything. So it's a trust factor. We're in low trust society, man.
And I guess you could wrap that up and kind of say the risk isn't really worth the reward.
Definitely.
Thank you.
I'm not that desperate. There's ways to just live with it, deal with it. Life goes on. And, your life is not over. People think their life is over. Right. And it can certainly feel like that at times. It's hard to find help and people who are willing to help, especially these days. Everybody's so self-absorbed. But there's a way, man.
I worked at a hardware store for a while, and we had this guy. He was in his wheelchair. He had the car he'd get up in and still drive. Like, this guy did way more than I'll ever do. He was building things.
Show off.
Yeah, I mean, goodness gracious. But I mean, I know, I talked to him here and there, and I know he went through a phase of kind of what you're saying with the agoraphobia. Like, he didn't want to go outside. And then he completely conquered that and just doing everything, everything. And it was very, very motivational. I love that. But, I get a lot of pushback when I talk about Neuralink from a lot of other people because they think, how could you put this down? But I really do think what you're saying is true. And then beyond that, it's going to become a thing of vanity. Everyone's going to want one. They're just going to sign up because it's going to be cool. Everyone's got an iPhone. Everyone's got a Neuralink. We can do telekinesis. I mean, Elon's quite literally trying to copyright telekinesis right now.
And this is not new tech either, because when I got hurt 18 years ago, they were trying this stuff on people at the rehab facility. And I went to a major rehab facility. I won't say where it was, but it started with this giant microphone looking thing with the XLR cable plugged into your head, and people playing Pong, and it's nothing new.
Right.
They're rebranding it. Right. And honestly, if Elon gave a damn, I have a very one-of-a-kind wheelchair. It has omnidirectional wheels, and they don't make this chair anymore. I've reached out and had people reach out and stuff. Whatever. You're not going to get a reply back, but it's not expensive to build a wheelchair. It's really not. It's a RC car.
Right.
So this wheelchair is, critical to my lifestyle.
Right.
So it gets me out, gets me living on my own and stuff.
And there's no other model that has that? The wheels?
Nope. It's called a Will, WHILL. And they've only got these new models that are a piece of crap.
Wow. Do you know why they discontinued it or just stopped making it?
I can't get an answer from the company. I actually tried building my own chair called the BAMF chair, Basic Assistance in Mobility Freedom. Sweet. And I was going to use the omnidirectional wheels, and this company got litigious with me.
What?
Yep. They keep renewing their patent on it. They're evil.
That's insane.
The whole wheelchair thing is a whole giant insurance scam. There's a whole conspiracy behind that because the power chairs that they have available to you are a piece of crap. They have shopping cart wheels. You have no freedom. So you are imprisoned essentially. This chair gets me off-roading. I go fishing every day, go to the gun range, do whatever I gotta do, shopping, drive my car. All the other chairs they're traps. You can't live your lifestyle. You can't transfer in and out of them easily. It's a whole evil thing, and insurance will cover them. So that's the catch. and they
course.
cost like $25,000 to start.
Goodness, man, that's crazy. Had no idea about this with the wheels and all that stuff. Unbelievable.
Triple life, man.
Oh man, well, I really appreciate you calling in. I love, this perspective and hearing more about it, and then like other things that people could look into outside of Neuralink, because I know there's other stuff out there, and it's unbelievable, man. Well, best of luck with the chair. I
Thanks,
can't
man.
believe that.
And if anybody, is in a similar situation, reach out to me in the chat. I'm Matt,
Cool.
and I'm a resource. So
That's great. Yeah, I mean, 20 years, man, looking into all this stuff. That is an incredible
I've
resource.
tried everything.
So definitely, I hope people reach out, man, if they need. Thank you for the call, dude.
Thanks a lot.
Have a good night.
Good night.
My goodness. How does that happen? How does Will do that? I want to send him a letter. Okay. Well, while you get another caller, let's see what else I've missed. Synchrotron 9001 said Shane in his redemption arc. I can't imagine what that's in reference to. There's been a few arcs coming up and down.
Redemption arc.
All right, we got Butter Toast 1403. Thank you for this Rumble rant. Man, you and/or Tim should do a show in Monroe, Louisiana, or Shreveport, Bossier. I hope I said that right. Louisiana. It would be close enough for me and my peeps and watch y'all to go to a live show. We live in Arkansas on the border of Louisiana. I mean, I'd love to go back to Louisiana. I love Louisiana, and Monroe is amazing. Getting to tour even in like a small van that was constantly exploding and the brakes not always working. Best time. Getting to see the country and play music and see all these cool towns and cities. Some of my favorite memories, and just being with my buddies and wreaking havoc. Best time. So I'd love to. I'd love to do. I'm trying to do some more gigs around the country. I have New Year's Eve. I will be doing a set. I'll be opening for Sam Tripoli at the Dojo in Morris Plains, New Jersey. That's going to be fun. Can't wait for that. Be my third time back at the Dojo. I love it there. So if anyone's in that area, you should come hang out. But yeah, I'm looking to do more of that around. I love it. I love being out in the real world. I love doing this, but there's nothing like being in a room with people and hopefully laughing. No guarantees. I'll do my best. I am. So I'm reading chat in reverse. Yeah, I took screenshots earlier, and then I'm going back and I'm trying to go through what I've missed. It's tough. You guys are fast, and there's a lot of you. But I'm doing my best. Thank you guys for being here. Who do we got next, dude?
I think we're gonna bring on. I think Adams. We have Adams Den is in here. I know we had him yesterday or the day before. We weren't able to get him on, so I think I'm gonna bring him on next.
Cool.
Guys, while we got a second, bombard the like button. Verbally dominate the comment section. Mm-hmm. You know how we do it. Don't forget to subscribe, share the show with everybody, follow us, all that good stuff. Let's keep rolling as we got about 20 minutes left in the night, so we're already almost halfway through the week. It's crazy. The monkeys are still being burned for another 20 or so minutes. Right. Let's get Adam in here.
Yeah.
And
going through a portal.
Yep.
Stacy McGregory, thank you for the nice, kind words. I appreciate that. Love it. The Rumble and YouTube, we love you guys. You guys are killer. We're so glad to have you all. You've helped grow this show so much. The callers in the chat, you guys are making the show really, really helping to build it into something. It feels like we have a much bigger ship. Alex and I had a bit of a rowboat for a few months with a lot of technical difficulties, but we built a foundation, and then, you guys are awesome. Can't say how grateful we are for everyone showing up, and you guys make me laugh quite a bit. I drive home just laughing like a crazy person.
I was going to say, that sounds crazy.
It does look crazy, I imagine.
Adam's dead. Are you here?
That's why I get pulled over so much.
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
We can. Welcome to the program.
Oh, it's my first time, and I have to tell you guys, you put on a really good show. I just discovered you. Well, I've listened to Shane on IRL before, but I just discovered this show last week, and you guys touch on so many things that I'm interested in. So really good to be here. Thanks.
Thank you.
Cool. Welcome.
Thank you so much. What's going on?
My pleasure. Oh, by the way, I'm calling from all the way across the Atlantic, so it's almost 5 a.m. here, and that's how good the show is.
We are expanding.
Amazing.
Fantastic.
Awesome. That's incredible.
Well, what's going on this morning?
Well, it's still nighttime for me, but anyway. I wanted to, well, I know that you guys like shadow entity stories, so I have one for you that happened to me a few years ago. But I'll leave that for the end because I've been taking some notes. And I wanted to first touch upon the idea, well, not the idea, the stories about robots and technology and all that.
Yeah.
One thing that I usually say about open immigration, and I think is applicable to technology and robots and all that, is I'm a big sci-fi guy. I've written a few sci-fi novels, not published yet anyway.
Awesome.
But in science fiction, we've been privy to a reality where technology can help humanity.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that, I don't think you guys are saying that. I'm just saying for everybody out there who's kind of afraid of where all this technology is taking us.
Right.
I think that there is a possibility that we can use technology in humanity's favor, like the Neuralink possibilities that Shane was talking about. But I also think, and this is the thing that I usually say about immigration, and I think is applicable to technology, is like Star Trek, for example, the idea of borders, and I'm all for, by the way, I'm all for sovereignty.
Yeah.
But the thing is that we can look into the future and see that the idea of open borders could be a good thing. However, it's my view that it depends on a maturity that our civilization does not have. If you open borders up.
Oh yeah.
Exactly.
Definitely.
And I've said it before. It's not the pros that are the problem for me. It's the mass amount of cons. That's where the worriment comes in for me.
Yep.
Yeah, and living in Western Europe, the same thing that's happened in the U.S. is happening all over. I mean, what happens is you open borders, and then a segment of the population travels to that specific country, and then just wear out resources without any consideration for the culture that was inhabiting that place there. And I usually compare this to going to someone's house. If you go to someone's house, you live by their rules, you do what they say, not the other way around. But anyway, again, maturity, civilizational maturity. And I think the same thing can be applied to technology. We've all seen science fiction movies where technology helps humanity, but I also think that comes with maturity. I don't think we're there yet.
No, I agree, and I should say, I forget to say this because I do focus on so much of the negativity stuff. Exactly what you're saying. This technology could be great. Some of it could be great. Not Neuralink, but like other things, like maybe AI even. But like if we were baking our ethics into it and we had ethical people building it, but like you're saying, we don't really have that.
I mean, I could almost compare it to owning a motorcycle. All right, I had a motorcycle. I had a motorcycle a long time ago. Used to love riding it.
Yep.
Almost got taken out a couple times at a stoplight. After the second or third time this happened to me in just a matter of weeks, following that, the guy that sold me the bike was then taken out by a semi-truck on his bike and killed. After that funeral, I sold my bike, not because I don't trust myself, but because I don't trust other people. It's not me that I'm worried about.
Totally.
It's everyone else.
You're defensive driving.
Yeah, so that's kind of where my head is with it. I'm not worried about what I would do with this technology. I'm worried about what everybody else would.
Yeah, I agree. And to your point, by the way, nice to speak to a fellow drummer. I just learned that today.
Nice.
And a fellow motorcycle rider.
Look at that.
But the first big trip that I ever did with my motorcycle, I was going normal speed, but it was, you have different roads here, but it was 90 kilometers an hour. And there was this car that just swerved to the left without any signals. And to this day, I spent, it was so close. It was so close that I spent the next couple of miles wondering if I actually died, and I was just not aware of it.
Yeah.
And
that's a really weird feeling to have,
there.
honestly. And then you spend the next hour trying to contemplate your existence, and it's not anything anybody should have to go through.
I've had a couple of close calls throughout my life, and one thing that I've learned is, I don't know if you guys share this sentiment, but I don't think I'm afraid of dying. I think it's just a part of life. Everything that is born dies eventually. But anyway, it was just the fluke of it, the not being ready for it, which you probably aren't at any point.
Yep.
But it was so sudden. Anyway, that's
totally agree.
one point that I wanted to make about technology. I think it can work for us, but it does. For that to happen, we need a maturity that we are. I don't think we're there yet. In any case, the other thing that you mentioned, Shane, was yesterday was Alex Jones and COVID. What I've been marginalized for. Well, I wouldn't say defending, but even not attacking Alex Jones when everybody else is attacking Alex Jones, just not being part of that bandwagon has given me a lot of grief.
Yeah.
And what I usually tell people is now that everybody's seeing that he is not just a lunatic. I mean, he presents himself as kind of a lunatic, but he is not just that. It's not as simple as that. He's been right on so many fronts. What I usually tell people is this, and feel free to steal this if it works for you. Imagine telling someone that's close to you the same thing over and over and over and over again, and that person, even though it's for their own good, they don't give you the time of day. Yeah. After a few years, you're going to go a little nuts. I'm not saying Alex is nuts. I'm just saying that's kind of the persona that people, that's the idea that people have of him, is because he's very flamboyant and very expansive. People think that he's a lunatic, which he's not.
Yeah.
But he's been saying the same goddamn things for almost 30 years, I think. Yep. And he's been right on so many fronts. Imagining saying something, knowing the history, as you said, you're a historian in that regard, knowing the history, reading everything that's out there, and knowing stuff that's going to help you. And you've been preaching and preaching and trying to get people to listen to you, and they only listen to you when it's, well, I wouldn't say it's too late, but it's kind of the devil's at the door now.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I think that's a lot of it. People looked at Alex like a caricature. He's a cartoon. And, you know, he is a bit of a performance artist, but he is like that in real life. I mean, he can be low, calm, having a very intelligent conversation about philosophy, but that's how his show is. He can toggle back and forth between all these things, and with that energy, and I love that. But you know, he gets clipped, he gets turned into a caricature. The media doesn't help. Yeah. And one of the funny things, like a good example of this, is obviously him talking about the frogs getting turned gay. And everyone's making fun of it. With the atrazine. Everyone's making fun of it. Along comes RFK Jr. He's in his suit. He's doing the podcast tour. He's running for president. And he just says the same thing that Alex was saying for years, but he's saying it in a more clinical way. You know, the way that people could digest, I guess, easier. And all of a sudden everyone was like, oh, the frogs are gay. I guess Alex was right. You know, but it's like Alex has a certain presentation, and sometimes that rubs people the wrong way. I happen to love it, but people are just they're reluctant to listen to him for various reasons. But
true. And it doesn't even matter how much evidence the guy puts out there. I remember watching something, not even in Alex's show, but I think he put it on at some point, which was an old document. When I say old, I mean like 20 years old, maybe 15 years old report, a documentary of sorts, about the studies being done in the lab as to the effects of atrazine and other substances in amphibians, in frogs and whatnot.
Right.
And what they did see, I don't know if you probably know about this, but what I saw was a gentleman, a scientist, very calmly explaining that yes, some of the male frogs are becoming changing genders, so to speak, to adapt this new bombardment of hormones.
They're getting tired of the females' bullshit. Just kidding. We love you, women. I'm kidding. I digress.
But I guess from Alex's point of view, if talking about it calmly didn't help for 20 years, I guess you realize that if you are flamboyant or if you're expansive, people will at least, even if it's just to make fun of you, at least something will get through.
Yeah. Totally. And it registers with some people. My introduction to Alex was watching the movie Waking Life many, many years ago. It's a great movie, and he's got one segment on it. You can go find it on YouTube if you type in Alex Jones Waking Life. It's incredible. It's basically just a classic Alex Jones rant, but the movie's all like a cartoon. So they took real footage and they drew over it. It's incredible. He turns red slowly as he gets angrier. It's amazing. But that was my introduction to him. So I always kind of thought of him as the kind of guy who's going to be screaming uncomfortable truths at the audience.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think you're onto something with that for sure. With the presentation and how people take it
Well,
for sure.
Yeah, and I don't mean to take so much of your time, guys. It's just that you guys touch upon so many interesting topics. But about COVID, yesterday you mentioned something that I think Rex Jones mentioned it, but it's exactly how I felt in my life, in my own experience with the pandemic, if you want to call it that, which was fortunately I'm surrounded by a lot of very intelligent people with all sorts of accomplishments in their own lives. It's credit where credit is due. They did it by themselves, so they deserve that credit. And to see so many people, so many intelligent and knowledgeable people just fall into the sheep mentality without even questioning anything, just because this is what happens. And you guys know this. This is what happens when you put a population in panic. They delegate their critical thought to something else, to someone else. If you're in panic, you don't want to make tough decisions.
Of course.
You just want someone else to do them for you. But to see that happen, they're all around me. It was truly a point of disillusionment in my life. And what I think is that smart people are able, because they've studied, they've reasoned for so long with themselves and with others, that smart people are able to convince themselves of anything. And then you add to that tribalism. Human beings are tribalistic by nature, so if they want to belong to a group at any cost sometimes. So if you have that tribal mentality and you are all very smart, you are able to convince yourself that the tribe is right. You are able to find the arguments, even though it's a complete falsehood. But because you don't want to leave your comfort zone and make tough decisions when you're in a panic, you just delegate that critical thought to someone else or to some sort of entity or institution, and then you can reason your way through it to make them right, even when they aren't. And the cognitive dissonance is just, oh my God.
Well, it's well said, and I agree. I mean, COVID's a great example of people being ruled by fear and outsourcing every decision to the expert class. The expert class was completely one of the first casualties of COVID, for those who were seeing through the BS, clearly. But yeah, people who are so overeducated tend to be the ones who buy into complete falsehoods. And I think that's part of that's by design with the college system, and why our country for sure makes it almost feel like it's mandatory to have to go to college. I wish I didn't. I wish I wasn't a professor. Although I love teaching. I love being in a classroom and talking about ideas. We talk about writing and stuff, but all around me, I'm surrounded by just psychopaths. Fellow professors were psychopaths. Yeah. The administration is psychopaths. People are paying so much money for this bogus education to just become a so-called expert in something, whether it's, gender studies or medieval times, which is kind of cool, but it's useless. No offense to you guys. I have many useless degrees. Unfortunately, I paid for some of them a lot of money. But that's a huge issue. And that was really a part of the fracturing of our society during COVID, when we realized, man, these people think they know better than us. They're very condescending, and they actually don't care if you die. They'll actually openly say,
"True,
we don't care if you die because you're making a decision that we don't recommend. So good luck to you." It's insane.
Yeah, and this was some kind of a magical virus when all of a sudden everything we knew about respiratory viruses just went out the window. This is magic, right?
Isn't that unbelievable? It's unbelievable.
Now, all right, last thing I wanted to touch upon, because I wanted to tell you about the shadow entity, and I'm trying to segue into it. One thing is, I saw the clip you put on between Tucker and Alex Jones, and where Tucker said that he thinks the internet is demonic. Mm-hmm. I do have a science fiction story that I want to write that is about demons being, well, I wouldn't say created by machines, but at least channeled by machines. And I'm wondering if that has real life applications, or if that's something that people experience in real life, when you're always looking at screens and stuff like that. We're constantly on it. Well, not me, but people are constantly on their phones and computers and whatnot. And I tend to think that some of my worst thoughts come to me when I'm looking at a screen. And this got me thinking maybe there's some sort of channeling there. If there is such a thing, which I don't really know if there is, and I'll touch upon that when I tell the story about the shadow entity. I don't know if there is a if we can, whatever it is that we call demonic, I don't know if they're demons or not or something else, but it does seem to, technology or screens do seem to kind of channel bad thoughts. Am I the only one?
No, I think that's why they people like Elon call AI summoning the demons. I think it doesn't have to be bad, but it certainly is a portal to so much bad.
It's programming.
It's programming. That's a lot of what they're talking
Long-term
about.
programming. It's a Hydra solution.
That is actually a lot of what they talk about in the Tucker
Basic
Alex interview.
brainwashing.
Yep, it is a tool of like MK Ultra almost. And now that they can personalize your algorithms, they can try to keep basically brainwashing, and making you think, this is the reality that you should be believing in, and they inundate you with things that are going to confirm whatever biases you have about reality. So, I mean, it's terrible because I think it can be a really powerful tool, a great tool. You have so much information, as long as you find the right information, at your fingertips. It's amazing that we can do stuff like this. We can talk to people around the world. I love that I can go on YouTube and go watch Pantera in Russia, and that's amazing. Like I can go see all these, it would be better if I could be there, but it's amazing. I can go pull this stuff up and have access to these things. But unfortunately, a lot of people are completely enslaved by it.
Yeah, and it's also kind of a consequence, well, not completely consequence-free, but it does appeal to the worst angels in people when you have this sort of a playground where you can do almost anything you want, but not a lot. I wouldn't say that the majority of the population has taken the time to understand what it is. If you were in an environment where you could do anything consequence-free, what would you do? That shows character. I don't think that a lot of people think about this. Is if you were to do anything you want, And Marina Abramovich, and I'm sure that Shane could do a whole show on Marina Abramovich, but one of her shows, one of her performances at one point was she would be on stage and she would have all of these instruments on stage with her, and she would approach the audience and say, anyone can come up to the stage and do whatever they want, consequence-free. And the internet is kind of like that, isn't it? You can do anything you want, but will it appeal to your better angels? And how many people are actually able to, develop the kind of character where you don't fall into temptation and vice?
Yep. And, Biden made her the education czar for Ukraine. Oh,
I heard something like that. I think I put it on my mind because it was so bad, but I remember that.
Crazy. She's a witch. Man, this was a really fun conversation. I appreciate you calling. I know you said you had a shadow story as well.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I'm sorry. It's your fault, actually. You guys put on such an interesting show, and I hope the chat is enjoying at least the conversation. I promise if I ever call again, it won't be this long. I promise. It's just too many good things. All right, the shadow entity. So I've felt, I don't think I remember a time in my life where I didn't feel presences around me. Even right now, as I'm talking to you, I understand that there's some out there, but and I don't know if feeling is the right word. I usually say that I can see them, but it's not with my eyes. It's like a memory. When you remember what you did yesterday, you're not seeing what you did yesterday. The images are in your mind. So anyway, the point being that I was like 14, and I remember I had a rough night. One of those nights where you're not being able to sleep very well. And I woke up and everything was dark, really dark, darker than it should, because there's always a little bit of light coming through my window. But it was very dark, and for some reason I had the urge to look at the foot of my bed, and even though it was really, really dark, I could see this silhouette, this outline that was darker at the foot of my bed, staring back at me. And I didn't see eyes, but it was, and this was, I was seeing with my physical eyes. This was not like a memory in this case. It was my physical eyes. I was seeing that. And I thought to myself, this lasted milliseconds, but I thought to myself, maybe I've dreamt of something, and this is kind of an optical illusion of sorts. So I moved my eyes around, and the thing stayed. And once I realized that, wait a minute, it's one of those situations where I'm in front of something, but in this case, I'm seeing it with my eyes. When I looked back at it, it went around my bed and toward me with an intent. And I was 14. It was the first time that this happened to me, and I kind of freaked out, and I just pulled the covers off of me, and I went to the bathroom. And this might be important. As I got out of the bed, if there was something there, which I think there was, I would have gone through it. And the point I'm I'm making a point of saying this because when I went to the bathroom, I splashed some water on my face, turned the light on, and then I leaned on the bathroom counter. And as I was kind of thinking to myself, what the hell was that? I looked in the mirror and I noticed that I had 3 large, long scratches on my wrist that were already cauterized. And I grew up with cats, and I was very much into sports and adventure. There are a number of reasons why I could have scratched my arm, but they were so long and so evident. I didn't remember them the night before. Right. So in my mind, it made sense that whatever I went through caused it, even though it's physically impossible. And then came the decision, all right, there's something in my room. I need to go back to sleep. What the hell do I do? And I wanted to tell this story because of Renee, who's been calling in for a few nights, and she's going through something. And this decision might help her, I hope, which is when I went back into my room, I turned on the light and I immediately shut it off because I was turning the light on because of fear. I said to myself, no, I cannot be ruled by this fear. Whatever's in there is going to be in there, whether I turn the light on or not. So I decided that I would do this. I said out loud, even though quietly because people were sleeping, I said into my room, I know that you're in there, and I know that you can harm me. But the worst thing you can do to me in the end, is you can kill me. Now, we are not on a level playing field right now because I'm alive and you are somewhere else. But if I die, then we'll be on the same level playing field. And then I will show you what I can do to you. And it will not be pleasant. This I said out loud, quietly, and then I went back into my dark room and I fell asleep, and it took a few minutes, but then I felt the presence just fade away. It never happened again. I've felt similar presences throughout my life, but none of them approached me. And every time, even here in my bedroom where I'm calling you, every time I feel something like that, or I sense that there's something like that near, I don't need to say it out loud, but that's the attitude that I go with, which is, if you want to communicate, go ahead. But if you're here to do harm, then the worst thing you can do is, kill me, and then we'll be eye to eye. We'll be faced eye to eye. Anyway,
Nice.
the point being
aggressive.
that if Renee is listening, I'm sorry, I'm just going to wrap up really quick.
No, you're good. You're good.
If Renee is listening, the thing that I wanted to tell her is, I know this is hard when you're faced with something that you don't understand. But there is such a thing, in my experience, where these things, whatever they are, they kind of feed off your fear. And the more you're afraid of it, the longer it'll stay. I hope this is helpful.
I mean, it circles all the way back to the whole fear situation we were talking about in the beginning. Fear does become a drug, an overlord. And it's tough. It's so tough to rid yourself of certain fears. Totally understand. But I appreciate that story. I appreciate that advice to Renee. And really appreciate you calling. It being 5:02, I'm imagining. Where you're at.
Yeah. Oh, and again, I really apologize for taking so long of this call. This has been, you guys just put on a really good show, and you touch on so many interesting things. Last thing I'll say, Bill Hicks reminded me of Tool, and I hope you're a fan.
I love Tool.
Have a good night, guys.
Yes.
And thanks so much for taking my call.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for being here.
Incredible. I love Tool. And I love Bill Hicks. I might listen to Tool. I saw some people in the comments on videos that keep referencing Tool songs. I'm like, they're kind of like unofficial lyrics or theme songs to the show. So many of those those earlier songs, the lyrics are very much like what we talk about all the time. I know we went a little over, and I know there are people who want to get on the show, and I'm really sorry. Brandon takes down your names. And we're going to try.
And they have been written down, every single last one of you that were still in my lobby. I think there were about 13 people in there still. Thank you guys so much for calling. I do have you on this list. We will get you on the show. We're here Monday through Thursday, 10 Eastern to midnight. So just call back. Like I said, I prioritize the people that I was not able to get on the show, nights prior. So give me a little time. I will get you on the show. That's a promise.
I'm just going to read a few comments before I close out the night that I wanted to read out loud. First of all, thank you to Mustang Lisa. You say, I listen to Timcast and this show while playing video games. Deprogramming. Amazing. We love it. Darth Chastelena, Darth Chastelena. You guys know I can't read. I went to college. Demons are extra dimensional. We are too flat to see them, but they can interact with our 3D environment. They're fine. Anyway, I think they come through the outlets to get
Is
us.
that suggesting that we're like a comic book to these things and they just turn,
Yeah, I mean, it's
turn
like-
the page, wash your hands,
It's
turn
like-
the
yeah,
page,
right,
wash your hands,
right.
you know?
We can't see a lot of this other stuff, and I think they know that. Robbie McJagger, you said, any chance you can connect me with Matt? I need a good surgeon. So, Matt, if you're listening, Robbie, if you're still listening, I guess each of you, if you haven't found each other already, I think you guys are in different chats. Maybe hit me up on Twitter or Instagram, whatever you use, or MySpace, and I can try to connect you guys. Occidentum Lux, thank you for the chat. Well, don't discount how powerful the marketing psyop was. The bad guys are pros and all the free hamburgers. You guys remember all the free hamburgers? I was in New York. The mayor of New York City was giving out cheeseburgers for vaccines.
That bastard.
He also ate like pizza with a knife and fork. And
You can't trust the cheeseburgers.
my wife, her uncles own a Greek restaurant in Brooklyn. It's one of my favorite places. Shout out to Athena's. And we all lived in that area for a while, and de Blasio also lived in that area, and they kicked him out once.
Dude, do people that eat pizza with anything but their hands freak you out? Because I feel like it's kind of weird.
It's a politician thing. It's a lizard politician thing. I don't like it at all.
A straight up knife and a fork. It's like, what the hell
It's
are
disturbing.
you doing?
Guys, if you're doing it, just stop.
Just cut it out.
Especially if you're running for politics.
That's enough.
Reality 101 said, take one step further, Shane. They want you dead. That's in terms with all these people we've been talking about tonight. I think that's true. But they also want us just barely alive so they can like feed off of our suffering. Because they do like that. They like to eat our suffering. Sorry, guys. I'm just going to do through a few of these. If you're still here with us, I appreciate it. Let's see what I missed here. I know there's some people who are really trying to get in, and I'm very sorry for that. I'm just going to watch me flip through my phone real quick at the end of the show. Stephen Webb said, sorry, Shane, I've been trolling the anti-Israel people tonight. Godspeed, sir. Godspeed to you. I know I was looking for two names. Robbie, you might have been one of them that couldn't get in tonight, and we're sorry. So I know I'm trying to find the other name because I was trying to tell Brandon who it was that was trying to get in. But if you guys are out there, there's two of you. I saw a comment about trying to get in the call. We will be back tomorrow, and we'll try to get you guys in first. I went a little over on the promise of 30 minutes on this show because I was getting into it with the tech people, and that's my bad. I do want to get to more callers tomorrow. This is another one. Born a Hawkeye. This is an important one. It was yesterday since we're now into Wednesday. Is it Wednesday? Yeah.
Yes.
You said happy birthday to Charlie Kirk. It's your birthday. Yesterday, Tuesday, was Charlie Kirk's birthday. Hard not to think about Charlie on his birthday. Heretic psychoanalyst said, Shane preaching to as many people as a megachurch pastor does. That's scary. That's wild. That's awesome. I love getting to talk about this stuff with you guys, and I appreciate you guys tuning in to hear me talk about it. And Metal Flakes, you said I've been here since the beginning, from before the live show, but I've only recently begun interacting. Thank you so much. That is incredible. Thank you guys so much. Brandon, you want to let them know where to find you?
And Synchro, I also saw the one from you saying that we need to expand to a 3-hour show. The only plan we have right now for the Halloween show is to do 3 hours that night. Shane, are we still doing 3 hours that night?
Yeah, we have to.
Okay.
Yeah.
3-hour show, Halloween night. Well, technically Thursday night rolling into Halloween, but we are going to kick it for an extra hour on Halloween with you guys. So be ready for that. You guys can find me, as always, at Brando Inverted on Insta and on X. Thanks to all of our callers, everybody for hanging out. Again, I got you guys all written down. If we didn't get you in today, we will get you in tomorrow or the day after or next Monday or the following and so on and so forth. Thanks so much for staying. Don't forget to stay weird. We'll catch you tomorrow. Shane, get us out of here.
You guys rule. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for being in the chat. Thank you for calling in. Tomorrow we'll try to get to more callers. My bad about going a little over. Had to talk about the tech vampires once again. They're trying to overthrow us with the robot Holocaust. We can't let that happen. But yeah, thank you guys. We'll be back later tonight at 10 p.m. EST. I can't wait to hear from you guys, and I hope you have a good night. See y'all tomorrow.